Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Welcome guys. Today we're going to be talking about how the church fathers maintained monotheism. Okay, so monotheism, what is monotheism? I told you this is the main thing we talk about. When you're talking about Christians, especially Trinitarians, you want to emphasize on monotheism. Okay, so what is monotheism? The idea that there's one God. Okay, so now if you believe there's one God, how can you reconcile that with the Trinity? So the church fathers, what were they doing? I'll show you how the church fathers, at least in their own mind, thought of maintaining monotheism. And I'll show you why this method, it doesn't work. Strictly speaking, when we are talking about monotheism, it fails miserably. Okay? Now, they had a notion that, see, there were some other people, for example, the Arians. So the Arians, they had their own idea of the Trinity. They believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but in another way. Okay? They were charged with tritheism. The church fathers charged them with tritheism. Okay? And then the church fathers, they also believe in Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So how are they monotheists? And how, who gave them the authority to be charging other people with tritheism? When them also, they have the same amount of individuals in their own doctrine of God. So in the first case, you have three individuals, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, for the church fathers. Then you have the other group too. They have three individuals, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But them, they are tritheists. They have three gods, but the fathers don't have three gods. How? Okay. So this is the whole idea they used. They said, see, and the contrast I'm going to make is about these two. They said, if the Father is not the cause of the Son and the Holy Spirit, then you have tritheism. Listen to this. They believe, see, the Father is the cause of the Son and the Holy Spirit. Listen to this very well. They believe, see, if the Father is not the principle, the sole principle, that the Son and the Holy Spirit came from the Father, literally. If that's not the case, then you have three gods. Meaning, if you have three uncaused beings that are God, then you have three gods. But if the other two came from the first one, then you have monotheism. We'll examine it closely, but that's the whole point. Because there are people today, for example, scholars like Dr. Ryan Mullins, okay, and William Lane Craig, I think, Dr. William Lane Craig. Also, these guys, they believe, see, the Father didn't cause the Son and the Holy Spirit. The three exist eternally, okay? So you have three gods that exist eternally without any causal dependence. No causal dependence between them. Then, this is how they want to maintain, because I'll show you the other problems later, but I've already explained this in another video, because if a God is caused, then he's not God. So these guys are trying to avoid the Son not being God. So they say the Son is uncaused also. But the moment you have three uncaused gods, the church fathers class you as a tritheist, that you have three gods, three principles, three sole principles that just exist without any causal dependence. Okay? So the church fathers are maintaining that, see, the Son and the Holy Spirit, they came from the Father. The Father caused them to exist. Therefore, they said the Father is greater than the Son, but not in the sense that you're thinking about. But they want to emphasize on this. So this is how they maintain monotheism. Now the question is, does this maintain monotheism? I'll give you an analogy, okay? And by the way, mind you, the two that are caused, the Son and the Holy Spirit, they are also fully God, by the way. They are fully God. Never forget that. It doesn't reduce them in any divine stuff, according to the church fathers anyway. That's the fact that they are caused, it doesn't mean they are not God to them. They are still gods, but just because of that causal relation, there's monotheism, okay? Now, I want you to imagine these two examples I want to give you so that you understand it. Imagine there's a house, okay? In this house, there's an individual there. There's one individual in that house. And then he brings in two other individuals into the house. How many individuals are in that house? You say three individuals. Okay, fine. Now imagine another house, the second house facing it. There have always been three individuals in that house. No one invited anyone. They have always been in the house. In the first case, there was only one person there, and then he brought in two. The second case, the three have always been there. The question is, how many individuals are in the first house and the second house? Think about it. It's the same number of individuals. In the first case, you have 3 individuals. In the second case, you have 3 individuals. That is what matters. The amount of individuals you have is what we count. We don't count how do you bring other individuals into the house. Because if you let that happen, and because, okay, if you want to count, you can count the house. You say there's only one house. But in the case of the 3 individuals also, there's only one house. So how do they have 3 gods? Or since there are 3 individuals here, the only difference is that one, in the first case, one brought in 2 other individuals. How does that, the amount of individuals doesn't increase or decrease? It's still 3, okay? Make sure you understand that. Once you understand that, you see why it doesn't work. Why this move of saying if you don't have one principle that brings in, that caused the 2 other beings to exist, then you have 3 tritheism. This doesn't work. Okay, guys. So, because another thing why I always disagree with this move of saying this is that the problem with this kind of idea is that you can bring in as many individuals as you want, and you can say, okay, bring in more individuals if you are going to count the house. Because to me, they are just, how do you maintain one individual? Because that's what is supposed to be God. But then they want to affirm that God can have multiple, whatever God is God the house, or God is the persons? This is a very important question. And if you watch my other video, is the house God or the individuals are God? If you say the house is God, fine. Then the individuals are not God. Each of them is not God. Okay? And if you say the individuals are God, the house is not God. And the amount of individuals will matter. Will determine how many gods you have there. Also, there's this false notion that people always think that to be God means you have to be perfect. No, you don't have to be perfect to be God. At least, because see, for example, imagine someone that believes the God of his own God, that there are 2. He only has 2 gods. The God of life and the God of maybe 3, let's say 3. The God of life, the God of death, the God of money. These are his 3 gods. The God of life is not the God of death in that kind of idea. So he lacks something. So this God now, does that mean he's not God? Wouldn't we call this guy a polytheist? It doesn't matter the kind of idea. You see, you think a man is God, and you have 3 men that you think 3 of them, they are your own God, you're a polytheist. Okay? But if you think only one man is your own God, you're a monotheist. You're a monotheist. It doesn't mean you're on the right religion, or it doesn't mean you have true religion. But you're a monotheist. If you believe in one God, you're a monotheist. Simple. But if you have more than one individual, you are not a monotheist anymore. You're a polytheist. So the church fathers and the ones that are trying to refute, they are all polytheists. Okay? Even the Arians, because the Arians, they have subordination in their own idea of God, at least some of them. So they are also polytheists. Okay? So I just want you guys to understand this. Just because the Father caused the Son and the Holy Spirit to exist, it doesn't preserve monotheism. It just goes, you are just telling us something interesting. Good to know that they caused themselves to exist. Whether they caused themselves to exist or they didn't cause themselves to exist, it doesn't change the fact of the amount of individuals you have in your doctrine of God, which will determine if you are monotheistic or polytheistic. So I hope you learned something from this video. See you guys later. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.